When a trumpet becomes a weapon, when jazz stops being background music and becomes the heartbeat of a revolution. This is the story of Hugh Masekela, South Africa's jazz genius, freedom fighter, and the man whose horn shook the walls of apartheid. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel where we bring you the most exciting and empowering stories from Africa. Today, we celebrate an icon, a legend, a man whose music transcended borders, defied oppression, and echoed the struggles and triumphs of an entire nation. Let's rewind the clock back to April 4th, 1939, to the town of Witbank in South Africa, where Hugh Masekela was born. His journey began in a land deeply divided, a canvas painted in hues of racial segregation under the notorious apartheid regime. But within this somber backdrop, a vibrant spirit was born, nurtured by a family rich in culture and music. Little Hugh grew up surrounded by the soulful melodies of gospel hymns and the rhythmic beats of native African music. It was a musical melting pot that would later form the rich tapestry of his sound. His early life was marked by a deep sense of social awareness, a consciousness that would only grow stronger with time. At the tender age of 14, his world shifted dramatically. The film Young Man with a Horn flickered to life on the silver screen, introducing him to the magic of the trumpet. From that moment, his destiny was sealed. He yearned for the instrument with every fiber of his being. And when Archbishop Trevor Huddleston, a prominent anti-apartheid activist, presented him with a trumpet, it was like a key unlocking a world of possibilities. In 1954, Masekela's extraordinary talent led him to join South Africa's first youth orchestra, the Huddleston Jazz Band. Here he honed his skills, delving deep into the world of music, soaking up the knowledge and experience shared by the seasoned musicians around him. As he progressed, his band, rechristened the Jazz Epistles, achieved local recognition, releasing South Africa's first ever jazz LP, Jazz at the Kips. By the time apartheid's oppressive shadow loomed larger, forcing him into exile, Masekela had already established himself as a force to be reckoned within the South African music scene. But the call for freedom was louder than any melody. And so Masekela bid farewell to his homeland, embarking on a journey that would take him across continents in pursuit of both personal growth and political liberation. His path led him to England, where he studied music at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music. Later, his brilliance took him to the United States, where he furthered his musical education at the Manhattan School of Music in New York. These were formative years that not only shaped his musical journey, but also exposed him to a broader international stage. It was during this period that he rubbed shoulders with some of the biggest names in jazz, including Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and Dizzy Gillespie. He absorbed their styles, learned from their experiences, and forged connections that would last a lifetime. But amidst the highs of his burgeoning international career, the longing for home never faded. South Africa, with its beautiful landscapes and vibrant people, remained etched in his heart. It was a love affair that inspired some of his most iconic works. Back in South Africa, apartheid tightened its grip, turning everyday life into a struggle. People were confined to areas designated by their race, denied basic rights, and subjected to a system that sought to crush their spirits. Yet amidst this darkness, the seeds of rebellion were sown. And music became one of the most potent weapons in the fight for freedom. As Masekela's star ascended in the international music scene, he used every opportunity to amplify the voiceless cries of his people. His music resonated with the hardships and aspirations of ordinary South Africans, becoming a soundtrack to their daily lives. Songs like Stimula, the Coal Train carried the mournful cries of migrant workers in South African mines, while others celebrated the spirit of resilience and the yearning for a better future. Then came 1968, a year that would forever change the course of Masekela's life and solidify his place in music history. Grazing in the Grass, a song that spoke of unity, hope, and the beauty of his homeland, topped the American pop charts, reaching No. 1. It wasn't just a chart-topping hit. It was a cultural milestone. Masekela became only the second black artist, following Harry Belafonte, to achieve this feat. The song's success opened doors that had previously seemed impenetrable, giving Masekela a platform to address a global audience. As he basked in the glow of international acclaim, selling over 4 million copies of Grazing in the Grass, Masekela never lost sight of his purpose. He used his newfound fame to shed light on the injustices of apartheid, becoming a vocal advocate for his people. His music was no longer just entertainment. It was a tool for activism, a way to expose the brutalities of apartheid and the indomitable spirit of those who resisted it. Meanwhile, South Africa seethed under the weight of apartheid. The regime's draconian laws and policies fueled discontent that echoed across the streets, homes, and workplaces. For many, it was a time of despair, a sense of hopelessness that seemed to have no end. But for others, particularly the youth, the seeds of defiance were being sown. Music became a language that transcended words, carrying messages of resistance and the dream of a free South Africa. And in the midst of this cultural revolution, Masekela's music blared from hidden radios, crackling through homemade speakers. His songs were whispered in hushed tones, in crowded rooms, passed on cassette tapes from hand to hand. His music wasn't just heard, it was lived, breathed, and slept with. It was a soundtrack to a silent struggle, a rhythm to a revolution that was waiting to unfold. By the late 1980s, the world's attention was firmly fixed on South Africa. The oppressive regime's brutality had drawn international condemnation, and economic sanctions loomed on the horizon. The pressure was mounting, but apartheid was a stubborn stain that refused to be washed away. Then came 1990, a year that would go down in history as the dawn of a new South Africa. Fidel Castro's government had finally crumbled, opening the door to a future filled with possibilities. On February 11, 1990, after 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela was released. The news reverberated around the globe, sparking celebrations that echoed the joy and disbelief of a nation. It was a moment that symbolized the dismantling of apartheid and the birth of a new era in South Africa's history. Masekela's music played a pivotal role in this historic shift, serving as both a battle cry and a victory anthem. His return to South Africa in the same year was nothing short of a homecoming. The country he had left behind was transformed, shedding the shackles of apartheid and embracing the promise of democracy. It was a joyous reunion, a celebration of freedom that resonated with millions. In the years that followed, Masekela continued to be a beacon of South African music, mentoring young artists, promoting African heritage, and performing to adoring crowds around the world. His music venues became platforms for cultural exchange, his notes echoing the rich tapestry of a nation's rebirth. But as his star continued to rise, the weight of his legacy pressed down upon him. He wasn't just a musician, he was a living legend, a cultural ambassador, and a voice of his generation. His music had become synonymous with South Africa's struggle and triumph, and each performance was a testament to the power of perseverance. Looking back on Masekela's journey, it's hard to overstate his impact. He was a pioneer, a trailblazer who scaled heights that few African artists had reached before him. His music transcended geographical boundaries, resonating with audiences across cultures and generations. He was a global citizen whose music was a universal language, speaking to the soul of humanity regardless of race, religion, or creed. Today, as we pay tribute to this extraordinary man, let us remember not just his musical brilliance, but the values he stood for. He was a man who used his God-given talents to fight for justice, to amplify the unheard, and to stand up for what he believed in. Hugh Masekela's story is a powerful reminder that music isn't just about notes and melodies. It's about passion, purpose, and the pursuit of a better world. His legacy lives on, not just in the echoes of his music, but in the hearts of those he inspired and the change he helped bring about. Thank you for joining us today as we've celebrated the life and times of Hugh Masekela. If you're inspired by his story, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe for more updates. Together, let's keep his legacy alive and ensure that his music continues to resonate for generations to come.